Hi, I've had a lovely request from somebody from Texas whose handle is at I love the little piggy, who would like some information and history on straight pins. Now, intriguing. We all know what straight pins are, but when, why and how did they start and originate? Now, straight pins in history, as we know, have been used for many a task, from fastening clothing to backing brooches that fasten clothing and capes, as hat pins, going back to medieval period for fastening veils, straight pins that are used for decoration, and special black ones that were used for fixing shrouds. Of course, before the old paper clip and the stapler, to fix manuscripts and paperwork. Now, straight pins go back for centuries to the ancient world before mass production were all made by hand. The Paleolithic era, the old Stone Age as we called it, approximately 3.3 million years ago, they were using bone or thorns for pins. The Neolithic era saw wooden ones produced, and this was approximately between 10,000 BCE to 2,200 BCE. The Bronze Age in ancient Egypt, coming from Asia, Africa and Europe, approximately 3,300 BCE to 1,200 BCE, of course. They were made of bronze and very expensive. And wealthy people then would have brooches made with them for decoration. In the 14th, 15th centuries, the medieval period, they became quite common for fixing clothes, veils. The wire pin industry was growing in England. These handmade pins, it took about 18 steps to make a pin, so you can imagine the expense of them. 15th to 19th century saw cottage industries appear, and they were made of things like brass, copper wire and iron, and here is what was called a pinner's bone to help you keep it in place while you made the head or sharpened the point. Here's a medieval man. The length of wire was cut to length and drawn through what was called a drawing wire to decide its thickness and size. The head was then hammered or stamped at one end against a block to flatten or twist it into shape. And the other end was filed very finely into a point. The pin industry was booming because pins were only used for a short time. After a while, the oxidization, the metal, stained the clothing. And the pin pillow is traced back to the 1530s. Now, in 1607, you could buy 1,000 for sixpence, in all sorts of shapes, sizes and varieties. Now, the white pin was the best, made of brass and coated with tin oxide, a layer of it giving it a white appearance. Red pins without the tin layer were next to best, and both of these types had been apparently used by the Countess of Southampton in 1600s in her pincushion. Next were the black pins, which weren't used very frequently, and they were iron coated in black varnish, mainly used as mourning pins. Pins could also be used as a defence against battling amorous advances. The diary of Samuel Pepys in 1667 tells us that. He says, "As I walked towards Whitehall, I turned firstly into St Dunstan's Church, where I heard an able sermon of the minister. I stood by a pretty, modest maid, whom I did labour to take by the hand and the body, but she would not, but got further and further from me, and at last I could perceive her to take her pins out of her pocket to prick me if I should touch her again, which seeing I did forbear, and was glad I did spy her design. For a lady to carry pins in her pocket when going out, just for defence, must have been a regular occurrence for us, just some daily annoyance we had to put up with. 19th century saw American and British inventors patent machines that mass-produced pins from straight single wire. In 1832, John Ireland Howe painted a machine that automated pin production. And here is that very machine. Today, pins are generally made from brass or steel, and they come in all sorts of designs, pretty colours. Thank you at I Love the Little Piggy for your intriguing straight pin history request video. If you've enjoyed another little historical fashion story, well, do join me again next time. Until then, bye!